Welcome back to the Michael Lofton Show. Despite some people telling us that the situation with Pope Francis is fine and he's doing perfectly well, that is certainly not the case according to Vatican News. I've actually been seeing conflicting reports. Some people saying, hey, everything's okay, nothing to worry about. And others saying, actually, you know what? He is in a very difficult position right now. He had a crisis in the morning. He's not out of danger yet. So we're seeing different reports. Let's see if we could get to the bottom of what is actually taking place. I'm going to share my screen and show you what Vatican News is saying. I actually found this because Rome Reports was then quoting Vatican News with this headline. So I just went straight to the source, to the Vatican, because that's going to be the most authoritative when it comes to updates from Pope Francis. So here we go. Pope at Gemelli Hospital, respiratory crisis in the morning. So he evidently this morning had a respiratory crisis and is not in the clear yet. It says Pope Francis, although in more pain, spent the day sitting in an armchair. Blood transfusions were necessary and prognosis remains guarded. It goes on to say the Holy See Press Office issued the following medical update on Pope Francis on Saturday evening. And by the way, we are going to be getting another update from the Vatican later on this evening. So a second update for Saturday. Evidently, they're giving multiple updates now. So stay tuned for more. We will find out more pretty soon. But here's what we know so far. It says the condition of the Holy Father continues to be critical. Okay, so for anybody who's saying, no, everything's fine, you know, that's just simply not true. Vatican News is saying the situation is critical. Therefore, as explained yesterday, the Pope is not out of danger. So what does that mean? It means he is in danger. If he's not out of danger, he's in danger. Okay, pretty straightforward. This morning, Pope Francis experienced an asthma-like respiratory crisis of prolonged intensity, which required the administration of high-flow oxygen. Today's blood test also revealed, and I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce this, thrombocytopenia associated with anemia, which required the administration of blood transfusions. The Holy Father remains alert and spent the day in an armchair, although he is more uncomfortable than yesterday. At the moment, the prognosis remains guarded. Okay, so we've actually been seeing, some reports here and there coming out saying slight improvement, language like that. He got up, sat in his armchair, had a restful night. We've seen those, but I've been telling y'all, I'm not so sure that it's how they're portraying it. It sounds to me like the situation is still critical, because if it wasn't, they wouldn't be preoccupying us with trivial details like he sat up and got in an armchair and watched television. That's not the reports that people are interested in here. And it's conspicuous that they weren't really telling us a whole lot about his health, and we're trying to kind of deflect. And I think we see why now, because he is in a critical state. So we also have this from CNA. Pope Francis in critical condition at Rome Hospital receives blood transfusion. Pope Francis remains in critical condition, is not out of danger, according to the Holy See Press Office announced on Saturday. The 88-year-old Pope experienced an asthma-like respiratory crisis of prolonged intensity Saturday morning, requiring high-flow oxygen. Blood tests reveal a low platelet count associated with anemia, which required blood transfusions. While the Pope remains alert and spent the day in an armchair, he is more uncomfortable than yesterday. The Vatican confirmed earlier Saturday that the Pope will not lead the traditional Sunday Angelus prayer on February 23rd. So that's just a couple days from now. We had already known that that wasn't going to happen because they were canceling his obligations and events as far as Sunday, as early back as I think it was Tuesday. So they just kind of knew in advance, he's not going to be able to make that, which was what was kind of telling me, okay, there is a serious situation here. During a press conference at the Gemelli Hospital on Friday, the medical team caring for the Pope had described his condition as serious. noting that Pope Francis was fully aware of this situation. Speaking of which, he's so aware of it that there have been reports of him saying that he doesn't believe he's going to make it. There's also been instances where he has kind of joked around with others about the fact that some people are praying for his death, which is, of course, not a joke, but he's making light of it. But it is actually something that is taking place. There are Catholics right now praying for his death because they believe he's a dictator and a tyrant and is destroying the church. And unless he dies, if he continues to do what he's doing, he's going to continue to destroy the church. So some are praying for his death, and so he's aware of that, and he was trying to kind of laugh it off. But that has to be pretty hurtful. That people are doing that. Another one here from CNA, live updates. It says Pope was admitted to the hospital on Friday to undergo testing and treatment for bronchitis. The Vatican is expected to provide another medical update Saturday evening. So this evening, we will be getting another update. So stay tuned for that. There will be more. Hey, let's pray for his health and that he pulls through this and that there's a good update. But we're going to find out one way or another this evening. It looks like they're going to keep us updated now multiple times a day instead of just kind of the usual once per day. It says in a terse statement earlier Saturday, Vatican physicians caring for the pontiff confirmed the news from doctors on Friday that the Pope is not out of danger, tempering expectations about a quick recovery. We've kind of seen that. Some people, again, just kind of blowing it all off. Everything's fine. And others saying, maybe not. And there have been rumors that the Swiss guards are rehearsing a funeral. We looked into that a couple days ago. Again, rumors of him saying he doesn't believe he's going to make it through this. So we've just kind of been seeing two different things. In fact, I'll show you something to illustrate this. I posted this on my Twitter. This was from yesterday. Okay. So this was posted by AF Post. Pope Francis is, quote, fine, end quote, and his current situation isn't life-threatening, Vatican says. And I read that and I thought, that's weird because the Vatican literally said the exact opposite. Huh? What? When did it say he's fine? I thought it said he's not fine. I thought it said that he's not out of not out of danger, and his situation is critical. And okay, so we see stuff like that. Then on the opposite, we see breaking the Pope's doctors say he is not out of danger and his health remains fragile. The 88-year-old Pope will remain in hospital for another week. And so I point this out to show you this is a perfect example of how we get conflicting information about the Pope and really everything else that you can imagine. We get conflicting information about it on social media, but especially when it comes to Pope Francis. How is it that one is saying everything's fine and another saying it's not? This is just another perfect example on how you need to think critically, go to sources, verify information. Don't just take for granted things that you're seeing in your feed, because there is plenty of misinformation out there. By the way, also Cardinal Parolin, head of the Secretary of State for the Vatican, said it's unfounded speculation that there's talk about the Pope's resignation. So some are saying that he's maybe going to resign. The Secretary of State is saying that's unfounded. He says, all of this seems to me to be unfounded speculation. Right now, our focus is on the Pope's health, his recovery, and his return to the Vatican. These are the only things that matter. With these words, Cardinal Secretary of State Pietro Parolin, in an interview, responds to reports in recent days discussing the possibility of Pope Francis's resignation. The Holy Father has been hospitalized at Gemelli Hospital since Friday the 14th for a respiratory tract infection. There's a little bit more information in that article, but that's effectively the gist of it. And so he's basically saying, well, there's no, to his knowledge, any intention to really resign. Although we do know that there is something that Pope Francis has signed, that if certain things happen, there will be an automatic resignation. But I don't know if we're close to that. Um, Now he also speaks about rumors of an upcoming conclave, and he says that I do not perceive a pre-conclave atmosphere, nor do I see more discussion about a possible successor than there was a year ago. Nothing out of the ordinary. What matters to me is that the Pope's body has been responding well to the current therapy. Mm, um, I don't know so much about that. It sounds like there's still some hurdles to get through here. But be that as it may, he's saying that he doesn't really know of any increased discussions about an upcoming conclave or something like that. So I suspect, however, if there were, they wouldn't tell us. You know. They don't appear to be very transparent. The Vatican. I mean, I don't think that that's news for anyone here who watches regularly. So even if there were such discussions, I don't think they would be transparent about them. But for whatever it's worth, the Vatican Secretary of State is saying that he hasn't noticed a difference and he doesn't expect a resignation on part of Pope Francis to be upcoming. Also, I wanted to point out a reaction here from the Protestant pastor, Justin Peters, on the news about Pope Francis. Benny Johnson, political commentator, says the Vatican reports that Pope Francis is in critical condition following a prolonged asthmatic respiratory emergency this morning. Now, here's what Justin Peters says. Again, Protestant pastor. He says, this is sad. It seems as though Pope Francis will soon make the discovery that he has not, nor have any of his predecessors ever been the head of the church. And to which I want to just say, is this really the time for that? Is this really when we should have that discussion? Is this the opportunity that we need to take to have that conversation? It seems to me like if you really care about a person, that probably wouldn't be the first and foremost thing on your mind. I can think of several instances where people that I know that I had issues with when they were dying. In several cases, I went to them, and in both cases they couldn't respond, but they could hear, and I would say something to the effect of, "Hey, I forgive you for X, Y, and Z, and I hope things effectively go well whenever you meet God," because in a situation like that, that the person is about to die. They're about to go and see God. They're about to go before the judgment seat. And so is it really a time to start getting into arguments? Is it really a time to bring up the past? Is it really a time to get into these kinds of differences? Or do you basically say, hey, you know what? I wish you the best. I think this is when Justin Peters should be saying, hey, you know what? I have some serious differences with Catholicism, but I hope the best for him. I I just wonder if the tables were turned. Picture this. Let's say Justin Peters, a Protestant pastor. Catholics don't believe that Protestant pastors are actually pastors. They don't believe that they exercise any kind of ministry in the Church of Jesus. What if he were on his deathbed and a whole bunch of Catholics start posting, yeah, this is sad. Justin Peters is about to die. He's about to find out he's been a fake pastor and he's never been a pastor in the Church of Jesus. Is that really what he would want others to do to him? Of course not. Of course not. So do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And so these kinds of cheap shots and stupidity like this, I just don't think is very helpful, and it's pretty shameful, and it also speaks to the character of some people when they engage in this kind of stuff. I mean, it's perfectly fine to have these theological discussions and debate the differences. Nothing wrong with that. But I think it's something else whenever a person is dying and the only thing that you can think about is their theological differences with you. Again, it speaks to the person's character. Not that we didn't already know there were problems with Justin Peters' character, given we've seen him disseminate fake news against Pope Francis. So, anyways, I hope this was helpful in providing you an update about the situation. Again, stay tuned for more because there will be another update from the Vatican. So just kind of keep an eye out from Vatican News or maybe something like Rome Reports or CNA. Just look for an update about Pope Francis this evening. Let's see how it goes. I'll come back tomorrow or Monday and do another show updating y'all as well. But hopefully this was helpful. If it was, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit the like button. I would really, really appreciate your support of the channel. So go ahead and take a moment to do that for me. And also consider supporting the channel financially at patreon.com/reason and theology. If you are so inclined and you want to see the show continue to provide this kind of commentary on current events and all sorts of catechetical material and all that good stuff that we provide here. All right, that's going to do it for today. We'll see you later. God bless. Hey, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the content. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and if you want to support the channel, visit patreon.com/reason and theology.